Search is dying and AI has already taken over. If your brand isn't showing up inside answer engines like ChatGPT, you're already invisible. This is the AEO Show, the podcast that teaches you how to become the answer in the age of AI. Every episode breaks down what's working right now to get found in a zero-click world. Listen now and join the free forever community at aeo.co/free. It's the AEO Show. My name is Kasim. I'm here with Julian Lopez, who's the head of research at AEO.co. Julian, you've spent it's been over a year. Do I have that right? When did we start this?
Yeah, pretty much. We could say that we started officially building bricks into what is AEO.co starting this year, but the whole idea and the seed is over a year. We have been researching way past that.
Yeah, so Julian runs a 6-person team that has done nothing for the last 12 months but try to identify how LLMs source their citations. And if you don't know what that means, let me dumb it down for you, because I'm the dummy that needs it dumbed down. If you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, etc., you're asking questions and they are giving you answers. And the question we have is, where do they get those answers? Why do they think one answer is better than the other? Where are they sourcing their information? And the reason that that's so relevant and so important is for businesses, for consultants, authors, authorities, anybody that wants to be the answer, we want to try to reverse engineer what LLMs think authority means and how they're pulling all of this. And the thing to talk about today specifically is what we're calling the new reality. The new reality is zero click, which is insane. Julian, explain what zero click means to the layman. If somebody's not familiar with SEO terms, why do we care that the whole world has gone zero click?
Exactly. Well, the way that the organic traffic used to work from at least the traditional search perspective is that you as a customer or as a user, you will go through Google and search for different sources, and you will have different questions that you will try, and you will get different sources, and you will go through each one of them until you find the information to build an answer on your own. And that was the way that businesses get to reap some of the traffic, like get the attention on people, so they could put their brand in front of people and hopefully transform that or turn that into paying customers. That's the old way. Now that we have AI is doing that for ourselves, is doing the search and getting us a full written answer that we can get from there.
Can I share the analogy that I came up with, and you tell me if it's good, bad, or indifferent, or if you would modify this at all?
Sure.
So I was speaking at Joe Polish's 100K group, which is that's a high-end group. And the reason I preface with that is because these are business owners that understand they understand change, they understand being ahead of the curve. You know, they've spent $100,000 just to be in a mastermind. So they have some pedigree, they have some revenue behind them. And they were, I think, as shocked as anybody else by this new reality, which doesn't speak to, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying this is, everybody in the whole world has been caught blindsided by this. And so I'm speaking to the group and I'm trying to find a way to really explain the difference between search engines and answer engines. And here's the analogy. And I want you to beat me up, okay? I want you to tell me if this is good, bad, or indifferent, because we might use this in everything that we do. Search engines are like having an interstellar spaceship that you get to pilot. And so if you think of the lexicon of the world's knowledge as a universe, and then every category of information can be, depending on the size, it's like its own galaxy or its own star cluster or its own planet or its own moon or it's whatever, from big to little, all information is represented as a celestial body. And you're in this spaceship and you can take this spaceship and you can go to any galaxy or planet or moon or sun or star or black hole that you want to go to, right? Maybe black holes are the dark web. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is if you think about that just philosophically, which I think is really important to do, for the listener, don't get too upset at the departure, because I think this is going to really help integrate where the change is and how it's going to impact you. Let's say, and the analogy I like to use is shopping for a car, because everybody's done it. Everybody shops for a car. And if you're shopping for a car, you don't even realize how many considerations there are because we're so good at amalgamating information. There's 20 to 30 to 50 considerations when you're shopping for a vehicle, right? But then there's the big ones, like, maybe you've got, I have a mom who's visually impaired. So I need not just extra seating, I need a third row because I've got kids, I've got my mom, I've got my nieces, I may need to pick them up. So I need a third row, but safety is really important to me and reliability is really important to me. And so each one of those considerations becomes a galaxy of information I need to go to using my interstellar spaceship that is the search engine. And then I go and I collect all the information, but it's up to me to do it, right? Because I tell the spaceship, hey, we're gonna go research car safety. So I go to the galaxy that tells me about car safety, and it just gives me options. It's like, well, this planet talks about Toyotas, and this planet talks about crash test rating, and this planet is, user fed. And so I have to collect all the information, I have to decide what's relevant, I have to amalgamate the information, integrate the information, and then I come back to my home planet and I drop this information off on them. And now I'm like, all right, now I'm going to go to the galaxy that talks about reliability, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So the reason I'm maybe exacerbating this analogy a little bit is because I want to describe the difficulty in what we've done up until this point. So that's search. That's a search engine, the interstellar spaceship. An answer engine is an android. It's like you have your own personal R2D2 or C3PO, pick your poison, and you get to say, hey, I'm interested in buying a car. I've got 2 little boys. I got a blind mom. I take my nieces everywhere. I'm thinking about buying a homestead. I'm pretty sure I want a 4x4, but I'm not sure. Reliability is important to me. I'm going to have this forever. I pay cash. I don't lease. Can you help me understand? And the answer engine already knows so much about me, which is that's maybe the third dimension of the topic, which you don't have to get into. And instead of me going to these galaxies, the answer engine goes on my behalf. I never see the planets or the moons or the celestial bodies. It aggregates and amalgamates the information, for better or for worse. Maybe it does it better than I do. Maybe it does it worse. And it goes to each of them and then comes back and says, oh, you need a Toyota 4Runner with a third row. Like, that is such a, because, and again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here a little bit. People who think that answer engines are like search engines, it's just a different window. They could not be more wrong. So that's the analogy. Interstellar
Exactly.
spaceship versus Android. How did I do, and would you change that? Would you modify that at all?
Wow, well, it's a really comprehensive analogy, and I love that. I love that that you get to build like this comparison, and the universe example is really great because that's how we should see the index. We live in a solar system of our topics, of our semantic relationships. We live in certain markets and everything, so that's kind of a great way to picture that for people. And the space travel is actually like really a really good similar example of what we used to do, even though like space travel looks like in the future, but it was expensive in times and calories. Like you have to go linearly, you have to go through each one of these sources or these planets and risk it everything. Like you could go and get mugged or get a virus or something like that, or you wouldn't find the information. It was really rare where you could find the information just in the first click. So that's why like the impressions and clicks were like loaded in the past in traditional search, because most of the times people couldn't get the information right away. So I think these are the things that we just took for granted because that was the option right there. We have to build our own answers, like you mentioned. That's absolutely true, but it is not true anymore with answer engines, with ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Google's AEO. Those are the 3 ones that we are kind of looking the closest, because we are looking at the specific use cases, like the UX and everything, and the way that they work are really important for us. And the another analogy of the Android, like going on your behalf, I think is great as well. But one thing that is really important for us to understand is the time to value, the time to response of these things. These things can go parallel instead of linearly. They can just search a sample of 15 to 20 sources at a time, grab the important snippets, and build the answer by doing so. So it's a much faster experience. It's also a much deeper experience because you get to ask more complex questions. If you are in a library, you cannot ask a longer question and hope to find that in one source, and that's what AI allows you to do, because it will break down your question, as complex as it is. I had like 30 to 50 word queries, and I will get an answer, and it will be good enough, because you will try to break it down, find out as many sources for each individual piece of the answer, and just build it up after that. That's the power of AI answer engines. You get to ask more specific, nuanced questions, and the AI is going to break down your research and bring back to you an answer that is just the best thing that it could do, and it will take you a lot more time and effort to get it.
You said a lot I want to unpack. There's quite a few nuggets there. What I want to do real quick is just return to the original topic, which was zero click. So with our analogy, just for our listeners, here's what this means: is change the framing. So we've been talking about the perspective of the user. The user used to hop in their spaceship and go to these galaxies. And what that means is a galaxy or a planet or a moon or whatever is your website, your social presence, your digital sphere. So they're coming to you, and they're landing on your site, and you're able to pixel them and track them and observe their behavior as they gather information. That's the old model. Now, what is it, Julian? Is it 65% of searches are zero click? Was that the most updated number?
Well, Spector said 58, but like a couple of months ago, so that might have changed.
Yeah, so it's at least 60% and climbing. So the majority of searches, right? Well over 51%,
Mm-hmm.
the majority of searches result in zero click, meaning your customer never goes to your website, to your link tree, to your social profile, to anywhere that you're able to capture, track, analyze. That's zero click. And you said a couple of things that I think are really important. The first one is, and this is a whole episode, Julian. So we need to do an episode. Excuse me. We need to do an episode on semantic index. Because, dude, I still don't understand what the hell that means. But I like that you started to make it a little more accessible to me to think about solar systems. So stay tuned, listener, because we're going to do a whole episode on semantic index. Which will not be a fun episode, by the way. Like, there's nothing interesting about it, I have to imagine.
We'll find the analogy, don't worry. We'll find the analogy.
That's what we'll need. We'll need more analogies.
Exactly.
Fun analogies, not fun information. But if you really want to crack the code on AEO, you're going to need to know about semantic indexing. You said two things that I really loved. It's the difference between linear search and parallel search. You as a human can do linear search. AI can do parallel. And the reason I think that's so relevant is because information is interdependent. So if I'm searching for reliability and I'm capturing information on reliability, I may not realize that, category B, D, and M of reliability are related to what will be my next search, which might be like economy. What do things cost, right? Because those two things tie in together really, really strongly. And if I'm searching in a linear fashion, it's harder to identify interdependencies. And it's also harder to allow those interdependencies to impact each other. Where if a machine can search in parallel fashion and it's searching for reliability and economy at the same time, it does a really good job at cross-pollinating that information. The machines are weaponized to aggregate information on a level that we're not. So as users, I think this is a huge bonus. As businesses, dude, and that's the question: how do you live in a world where the customer never goes to your website, never goes to your social, never goes to your funnel, never goes to anything? What do we do? Like, what's what, you know what I mean? Like, how do we survive this?
Yeah, that's the right question. But also, I'm really confident that this is just the gap between the change, like the actual landscape is changing, but it's going to be is going to be end up being something else. So what we have to do now is read between the lines, like understand the technology really well, so that we know and be prepared for that next step. I'm really confident that these chatbot experiences are not going to live always on the screen. They are going to be beyond the screen. Like we are not talking about maybe we get some glasses 10 years from now. Like you are already can choose from Blu-ray, from Ray-Bans to Oakley glasses. There's
Didn't Apple just prioritize? They just moved from their what was it? Augmented reality goggles to their glasses, and they basically put a pause on one of their biggest new product lines in order to prioritize the glasses seem to be where everybody wants to go, which makes sense.
Mhm.
And dude, it's such a weird, fun meta experience. Instead of us looking at the screen, so us looking at the computer is now looking at what we're looking at. Isn't that
Exactly.
weird?
Exactly. It's weird, but I need it. I
Yeah. Well, and
really.
then all communication is voice, right? So now
Mhm.
another layer of complexity is we're not just optimizing for a new conduit of information. We're optimizing for a different context, because
Mhm.
where people, I think still 95% of people use typing.
Mhm.
We're now going to move into a reality where it's entirely voice based, voice queries,
Mhm.
which is different. You type different than you speak, obviously, right? So talk to me a little bit about how we attend to this as business owners. What do we do? What are the next steps?
Yeah, well, as we are seeing across different industries, the traditional tactics are going down. Informational queries are no longer driving traffic, because the those types of answers, the what, how types of questions are being answered on the AI platforms. You can decide how you're going to take that information, if it's going to feel like a catastrophe, or if it's like, I see that now, which is like one of the biggest opportunities. Like in these shifts, there's always changes. People that don't adapt to go down, and people that get on top of the information and stay aware of what's changing are going to be reaping the best result, because they are going to be best prepared for this change. So what they have to do, what I consider really that people need to do first, is to understand the technology itself. Like it's not a magic box. I would
Mm.
rather call it like um, a really powerful parrot, in a sense. Like it will make the best job at repeating the words in a way that completes your ideas. That's kind of how an LLM works. It doesn't just uh, build answers from the ether or from nothing. They have a proper setup of ways, and everything lives on the question that you ask. So focusing on the question that your customers have, and the new type of questions that they might have now, that they are able to find answers for, is going to be the next step for me. Like the keywords are useful to get you in the index, to put a broad a label over your head. But if you do a better job at answering the more specific questions, like on different avatars, different types of people that could be your customers, the more chances you will have to be cited for those
Mm.
types of answers. And then you will build like a more robust presence and confidence on these AI machines to be surfaced as a recommended brand.
So there's a 1-2 punch here. The little punch is being the answer. So if and I have some specific examples. I buy beef. I buy quarter cows, half cows, whole cows, because it's just an easier way to get. I need the grass fed, grass finished, organic, no hormone, whatever, whatever. Like it's weird to me. You have to pay extra money to get people not to mess with your food. So instead of buying it by the ounce, I buy a half cow. And I went to ChatGPT because it's interesting. There's a lot of people like me that hunt these little teeny tiny ranches down and try to figure out where you can get this, because they run out quickly. And instead of, when I ran out of beef last time, instead of trying to do the Google search and calling everybody I could call, and I just asked ChatGPT, I'm like, this is what I need. And ChatGPT goes, oh, call this small ranch in the south of Phoenix, wherever they were. And it gave me a phone number, dude. And I called and I told the guy, I was like, yeah, I found you on ChatGPT. And he goes, well, that's the first time I've ever heard that. So there's the first punch is being the answer. And I called that the little punch. I don't think it is the little punch. I think that's the first punch. And if you're the answer, that's like the gold standard. It's like ChatGPT says, go do this, go buy this, go here. The second punch is being the citation, which is ChatGPT gives you an answer that's not necessarily your business as an end result, but it allows the user or the customer, whatever we're calling them, to pursue your business if they're interested in understanding more about the citations. Now, what percentage of, and there's no data on this, I imagine, or maybe there is, but what percentage of people do you think, or would you guess, actually look at the citations?
Well, it's as all click-through rate is pretty low compared to the amount of impressions. Like going back to SEO, it will depend, and it will be a little bit lower because you will get most of your answers in there in the chat, but in the experience in the platform. But still, I have had many times in which I would really like to see the source. Like the answer is really useful to get a quick idea, but for technical questions or some more specific, I will always like to look for a validated source, a website that has some type of reputation that backs up its information in exact details. So the citation still has a lot of value because you are being sourced, you're being cited. If you were to like read something that talks about health or finance, you wouldn't get the first answer that you are getting. Even though, like, this is a good point to talk about more specifically, like the chatbot experience is giving a lot of confidence on people. So a lot of people are getting what ChatGPT is recommending them as the best option right then and there, just because ChatGPT is the bigger thing, is the new brand, is like somebody that you build a relationship with. It's like your friend because you get to talk with it about your personal matters. You discuss your financials with it. You trust it enough to talk about your lives or challenges. Then if you go for a product recommendation or something like that, you will have a lot more trust than going into a traditional search and going into a website. That's kind of
Well, the data
a
shows that
psychological
too.
thing.
There's a Forbes article I'm looking at from June 2025. Study shows LLM conversion rate is 9 times better than traditional search. 9 times, 900%. When in the world have we ever been able to 9x a conversion rate? You know, like my background, for those that don't know, listeners, quick brag, I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. I spent over a decade spending other people's money for them. I spent $100 million a year, and we were trying to boost conversion rates by 2%, 3%, 4%. Like if you could get a 2% lift on a conversion rate, that could be a pretty big deal, you know, because then you continue the value trade. To get a 9x is insane. So we have like the carrot and the stick. The stick is you're losing search traffic. It's gone. Rest in peace. God bless. I had an SEO on Facebook recently tell me I was full of shit. And I actually felt so bad for the guy. I was like, I know why you're so mad, because you're so afraid that your whole life is collapsing around your, you know, he's like, I've been 23 years in SEO. And I'm like, yep, that makes sense to me. You know, he's on a sinking ship that he committed 23 years of his life to. It's so sad. SEO's gone. You know, marketers love to kill things. AEO's the new reality. So that's the stick. The carrot is, if you can do this, people are naturally nurtured independent of you and just show up ready to buy. And ChatGPT is integrating shopping carts into their experience. They're going to be able to buy directly from ChatGPT, which is going to be an extraordinary thing to watch. You know, I used to think the commerce battle was between Amazon and Shopify, meaning, again, maybe zooming out a little bit, it was between large platforms and small independent providers. And now ChatGPT throwing its hat in the ring adds this third category that kind of it feels like it's platforms powering small independent providers, right? Because I don't think ChatGPT is ever going to let you buy directly from Amazon, or maybe they will. Who knows?
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting piece of statecraft to watch. So the carrot is, if you do this and you do it well, you're going to see extraordinary returns. And I think this show is going to be dedicated to teaching people how to do it and do it well. Right? Like, and we have a free community. You can go to AEO.co/free. You can join the community. You have access to all the information. Our 6-person data team publishes things on a regular basis. We wrote a book. All of it's free, free, and free forever. And it's not because we're Mother Teresa. It's because the more people in the community, the more we learn. So we don't leave the listener on pins and needles. Let's give them like a practical reality or two. What are the specific things they need to do right now as we wrap up the show? Like if you were to send somebody home with 1 or 2 action items, 1 or 2 pieces of homework, what would you send them home with?
I think it's fair to say that still being part of the index is worth doing, just because like AEO is an evolution, it's on top of what used to be SEO. But like having a proper foundation of your brand, like being at proper technical setups and making sure that your content talks about any specific topically relevant content. So you're talking about your main topic will be your main service. Focus more on the commercial side of your business. Forget about the informational for now. Like there's used to it yet, but still, like try to if you're creating content for your website, make sure to create pages that are closer to the bottom of the funnel, like more transactional, because that way you are going to be found as the source for that types of solution. That's kind of the closer thing to the goal that we can get to do now. That's kind of a bigger thing. And the second takeaway that I will recommend business owners to focus on is like get really great at finding out what the questions are from your audience, what type of people are you serving, and what are the most specific answers that they are looking for. So if they are a single mother, if they have any specific challenges to their lives that your business could provide for. So gathering all of the stories on the sales calls and on social media and wherever you can find them is going to be the most important thing that you do now, because then you get to flip that into content that answers those specific questions. You get to be found, you get to become the source for that, and ultimately you will become the answer.
I just want to double click. It's such an easy thing to do. And if you haven't done this yet and you're listening, it's almost irresponsible at this point. Go make a list, and you can do this with ChatGPT. Make a list of every question a prospect could or would ask about your offer, right? Easy. Make a list of every question a prospect would ask about your offer. Now, if you want to get a little more, if you want to go for extra credit, let's say, make a list of every question a prospect would ask about your offer at every stage of the funnel. What are the top of funnel questions? Which, if you're not familiar with the funnel, it would just be, what questions do they ask before they're problem aware? They're not even in the funnel. What questions do they ask once they're problem aware? What questions do they ask once they're solution aware? What questions do they ask once they're vendor aware? What questions do they ask once they're offer aware? That's more or less the funnel. And once you have those questions, and there could be a couple hundred, answer those questions. You know what I mean? Like, how hard could that be? Now, answering a couple hundred questions is going to take some time, but again, you have these LLMs to help you do it. I would strongly caution against using the LLM responses wholesale. I think you need to massage them, modify them, humanize them, etc. But if you find the questions, answer the questions, and put them somewhere on your site, I think what we're saying, Julian, more or less is that at least equips you with the raw basics to be found and prioritized by LLMs. How did I do there? Would you change or add anything there?
I will add one. I would like to add more value and throw a gold nugget that I think is a really great uh like easy for, well, more easier for one type of people, but now that we have AI, is getting even easier for everyone. One way to skip the line in the in the index and being found, instead of building your website authority and building a lot of content, is that you be part of the most validated sources for uh, Google and AI, which will
Mm.
be your Reddit, Quora, LinkedIn posts is interesting, but the one that I will just tell you right away will be YouTube. Having your audience questions answered in YouTube is going to give you the bigger chance at being cited, because YouTube already has all the authority, and if people are looking for answers, specific answers, they can default to video, and there's a lot of citations going to YouTube videos, and it will be easier for you. You will have to, well, overcome a couple of hurdles, but the most engaging video that you can do is just you talking about your business or the problems of your audience in front of a camera. Like, you will get first the first reference, the brand, your whole presence is going to be the bigger and better signal that you could give your audience about the questions that they might have.
Dude, that's a hell of an unlock. And I'll tell you the thing about YouTube that I love. YouTube made me rich. You know, I built an 8-figure exit off of a 30,000 subscriber YouTube channel, which is a small, small, small channel. The thing I love about YouTube is it's the easiest content to repurpose. If you're producing content for YouTube, it's so easy to take that content and, you know, you strip the audio for a podcast and you transcribe the audio for a blog, and then you turn it into an Instagram carousel and you turn it into a Pinterest infographic, and you cut it up into reels. And now you've got YouTube Shorts and Instagram and TikTok and on and on and on and on and on. So YouTube is going to help you create multimodal content, which is also helpful for AEO, which we'll talk about in another episode. Dude, I think we did it. For those of you listening, we have a free community built specifically for you. It's AEO.co/free. This is not an ascension. You're not going to hop in the community and then get your face melted with reasons that you should come pay us money. The community is meant to be mutually beneficial. It's symbiotic. It's where we'll serve each other. We come to you with all of our research and how-tos, and our hope is that you use those things to go execute on what we're advising, because the more case studies we have, the more proof of concept we have, the more we're able to validate our research. So in some ways, you're signing up to be a guinea pig. So we're not going to charge you money, but we are going to ask you to participate. There's no cost. We're pretty aggressive in policing the community. So if you're a spammer that thinks you're going to step in and be able to poach our people, you'll be very surprised. Like, there's no second chances. We're just going to straight off with your head. But for those people that want to be legitimate businesses, and I don't care if you're a customer that wants to do AEO themselves, join the community. If you're an agency that wants to learn to offer AEO services, join the community. Like, we're very collaborative. I don't believe that, you know, I mean, there's so much opportunity here. I'm not worried about competition. If you have your own AEO community, come join my community. We want you. We need you. Julian, last words to you, sir. What else would you leave our listeners with right before we sign off?
Well, the bigger call to action is just to think back on the times where the internet was being formed, and I think this is a change even more impactful. Like, the things that we do today are not going to be the same things that we are going to be doing tomorrow, and this shift is going beyond AI chatbots on the screen and everything. So you might blink, and at the end of it, we are going to be surrounded by robots, VR, and flying through space. So pay close attention, because this type of education, this type of knowledge that you are going to be learning from us is going to be massively valuable in the shortest term that you can expect.
Brilliantly said. If you're listening, like, comment, subscribe. You know how podcasts work, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the AEO Show. Do you want to learn how your brand can become the answer for AI engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini? Join our free forever community at AEO.co/free and get access to research, tools, and live discussions that will keep you ahead of what's next. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review because the future of search has already changed.